Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We can hear you.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. And we will start. I think around 41 students are there. I hope the number will be increased during our progression. And last week, actually, we discussed the market mechanisms, what we call the demand, supply, equilibriums, elasticity, and the demand estimation and the demand forecasting. Estimation and forecasting techniques you are learning from your what we call the managerial quantitative techniques for managerial decision making, something like we have subjects, and even the marketing lecturer also going to explain to you the what we call the market forecasting and the market estimation technique. That time also you are learning that one. Therefore, the I don't want to deal in that part. But anyway, if anybody want to broaden their knowledge regarding this one, if you can read any business economics or managerial economics book, you can easily find one chapter is there regarding the estimation and forecasting techniques. That is there by using software. You can do it today. I think we gave some case study also, the Japanese HP computer printer market case. Then while you are doing this case study, you can see how the practically companies are using this the concept which we are learning in our class. But anyway, we can say the print in business is anyway technology-based business. If you want to define what actually mean the technology business, it should heavily use technology, or it should produce a technology product or process or service. Or maybe that type of definition you will find in that concept, the context. We can say that the computer business is heavily the technology-based business. Right. For today lecture, I gave one PPT slides and one case study, and thereafter some part from the one of the textbooks recommended. Then you can see that before you start the reading the lecture, if you can go to that the textbook parts, then you can easily understand what we are talking today. That is actually today we are going to discuss with you production and the cost and the revenue. The revenue means it's a part of the profit maximization. Therefore, these things are very much useful to the managers to get to know how the economists are going to explain the production, and how the economists are going to explain the costing side of the business and the revenue side of the business. And these are very important for any manager to know it. And if you go to the learning outcome of this lecture, to give a basic idea about the production functions, because economics like to model everything. That is the way their life is moving. They see the factory and they are trying to model. Then they say what are the inputs you are using. Mainly we are using the labor, you are using the capital, you are using the raw materials, and all things. It can be, economists are dividing that one, fixed cost and the variable cost. And thereafter they put a Q is your output, and thereafter they are put in the functional forms. Therefore they are coming with the production functions. And thereafter, to give a basic idea about the various cost and revenue concepts, you can see in economics we are learning very many costs. It can be a fixed cost, it can be a variable cost, it can be a total cost, it can be average cost, it can be marginal cost. And we have to see the cost analysis with respect to time period. It can be short run, or it can be a long run. It can be a very long run. Then how the cost curves, the starting and how it's moving and how it is ending. Whenever your production goes up, what is going to happen for various type of costs, how the total cost is behaving, how the average cost, marginal cost, and thereafter to show the behavior and shape of the short run and the long run cost and the revenue concepts and the reasons behind it, why the cost curve has a different shape of increases, and finally it is decreasing. Why? What are the reasons? Then as a practicing manager, this is the thing what we are, after seeing the factory data, factory output data, you have to figure out it, how this cost behaving according to, in line with that one your production is behaving. Therefore, this is maybe very useful managers to understand how the factory flow is working. And they have to give a basic idea about the profit maximization. The profit maximization and the revenue maximization are two different things. Your marketing lecturer also going to explain. In order to make a real profit, you have to go for a profit maximization. If you want to have other objectives, you go for a sales maximization or revenue maximization. That is a different from the profit maximization. And thereafter, application of these concepts to practical decision making. Sometimes business people are coming and saying to you that you have MBA. MBA means Master of Business Administration. That means business better than anybody else. Then they will say, look, earlier I was making a profit. Now I'm not making any profit. Can you help me to get back into business? This is the main problem. All the companies are complaining. Then these basic concepts you learn in a class, what we call the production behavior, costing behavior, revenue behavior. And by using these things, you can give him some prescriptions. Then if he follow it, he'll again back into business. Very simple. These are things what the consultants are doing, Therefore, the framework is very simple, but it's a very sound. Practically, we can easily apply the section I gave from the textbooks. You have so many examples regarding this one. How can we use this the production economics concepts to practical decision making? That is there with so many case studies. If you listen, you can read that the chapter I gave as extra readings to you, and you can see the first things, production, cost and revenues are related with the supply theory. This is a part of the supply theory. Last week, we were discussing heavily on the demand theory. This is the production flow we are analyzing, supply side of it. The critical question is, can we analyze various business organizations through one theory, or do we need very many theories? Then if you see in a practice, you can see there are so many people are doing business. One man is doing, 2 man, 3 man, 4 man, government is doing business. The companies are doing business, NGOs are doing, the citizen groups are doing business. Then you can see that normally there are so many business organizations are doing business in a practical situation. Sometimes in economics terms, we say the perfect competition, 1,000 buyers, 1,000 sellers, monopoly situation, single person is producing the whole market, and you have a duopoly situations. 2 people are servicing the market, likewise here, petroleum market and maybe gas market. And there are 3 people, 4 people, we say the monopolistic competitive market and the oligopoly market, the duopoly market. Then the economics has a market structures. We are putting all these the companies to the structures, and thereafter we analyzing their costing behavior, production behavior, pricing behavior. Then you can see that can we analyze various business organizations through one theory, or do we need very many theories? One general framework, general theory we are developing. Thereafter, we do a small adjustment to shoot with the various market structures. Therefore, this lesson is a very important. Whatever we develop here, whatever cost or revenue or profit, the structure we are developing, we can apply to various market structures with a small adjustment. Then you can see before deciding the output level, the firm has to know 2 important issues. First one is how much will it cost to produce? Humans start with the cost, not only companies, Whenever you see that your friend bought a house, or maybe car or computer, the first thing is you're asking how much it, whenever your friend is, so maybe whoever wearing the new shirt or shoe or, trouser, the first thing you're asking how much it costs. The human always, human mind start with the costing side of it, and thereafter how much revenue will it generate to you? You are spending so much cost, then what is the outcome of that? Then the first thing people look at the cost. Then economics has a different framework to analyze the cost. It can be a fixed cost, variable cost, average cost, marginal cost, and that way. And there are revenue also. Then how much will it get? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
It's okay. Can hear, sir.
Yeah, right. Okay. Then you can say that, even your case, you can say that before you come to our MBA programs, I think your first thing is a cost, yeah? How much you compare with other MBAs in Sri Lanka, and thereafter you think maybe in addition to the cost, that the reputation of universities also, some of you are Moratuwa graduates, maybe some of you maybe could not come to Moratuwa as undergraduate, but as a postgraduate now you are coming to Moratuwa. Anybody do the mathematics stream advanced level in this country, their dream is to come to the Moratuwa. Moratuwa is the best place to study, the engineering type of things, Then that way, the first thing you are looking at the cost part of it. Thereafter, secondly, how much revenue will it generate? After you get in MBA, what you can do with, sometimes you can exit from your job, sometimes you can climb the ladder in your job, sometimes you can migrate with this MBA, because it will give some marks for your migration, that way, because you compare with the cost and benefit, 2 years you have to suffer with us, So many lecturers are giving so many assignments, you have to listen to us, so many research projects and, group assignment, case development, and, throughout these 2 years, you have so much work, then you can see you're suffering because of the better tomorrow, you're sacrificing today, maybe today is Saturday, maybe your family day, sometimes you don't have time to mix with your family or kids or mothers, fathers, we are leaving everything and you are just, behind the computers, whenever we start in person, it is going to be more difficult because you have to travel to the Morocco, and you can't miss it, now you can just put it and you can do whatever you like things, but we don't know, there's no mechanism because we never say you to the switch on your the camera, because we believe that you are a responsible students, therefore you are behind the screen. Therefore, you can say that, the humans, before they start any decision, they first look at the cost, thereafter revenue, and thereafter they equate it. If you have only the positive of it, the cost should be less and the revenue should be more, then you go for it. That is a human behavior. Then you can see that we are trying to model, the company behavior, suppliers behavior. On the one hand, cost of production, on the other hand, revenue. Then you are equating that one. Firm chooses the level of output and the fixed price. Then you can see the output, you go to the down, then the horizontal curve, then you get the whatever you want to amount produce, and go to up to the AR curve, and then the fixed price. This is the start of the basic modeling. Economists are very good in modeling. They go to the factory and they see it, and we are trying to the modeling. This is the start of the modeling. If you go to the next slide, you will see then the complete theory of supply. You can see firm chooses level of output. Then you can see on the one hand marginal revenue curve, on the other hand the marginal cost. We can analyze with respect to time period. Then here MR MC equal MC we are equating. Thereafter we are going to the AR curve and the fixed price come down and we are fixing the output. That is the way companies, whether like or not, that is the way they work it. We model it. We check the 1,000 companies, out of that 999 companies. That is the way it works. And behind the marginal cost curve, we have a total cost curves. It can also, we can analyze with respect to the what we call the short run and the long run. I will explain what is a short run and what is a long run. And behind the marginal revenue curve, you have a demand curve. Then you can see the demand curve facing the firm's price at which the firm can sell each level of output. And behind the total cost curve, that is the engineering part of it. There's a technology and the cost of hiring, the factors of production. Then you can see these are interrelated. Then you can see the firm chooses the level of output. They check the whether to produce at all in the short run, whether to close down in the long run. Then this will discuss the last part of our lecture, how the firm is decide whether to stay in the business or whether it's to close in the business, because by look at the cost inside, they will decide. And behind that decision, they have average cost curves with respect to the short run and long run. Then you can see this is a little the complex modeling, and we can introduce more mathematics into that one. Then we can quantify, we can even introduce a software also for that. Then you can see what actually mean a production. Then we have to give a definitions for that one. Then you can see the term production refers to more than the physical transformation of resources. Production involves all the activities associated with providing goods and services. Thus, the hiring of workers from unskilled labor to top management and personal training and the organizational structure used to maximize productivity are all part of the production process. And the production means not just machines, or maybe just put in input and come in output, but there are other associated, all the activities we consider as the part of the production. Then how do you define input? Input means any good or service used to produce output. Then the techniques, another definitions, a particular method of combining inputs to make outputs. And the technology is the list of all known techniques and the technical progress. You remember in the very first lecture we discussed opportunity cost, the use in the production possibility frontier curve. How can you show the technical progress of a nation? So the company production of a given output with a lesser input than before, or shifting the production possibility curve to the what we call the right, then we say that country or that firm has a technical progress. Then you can see we will start our analysis with the formulating the production functions. The production functions is a descriptive statement that relate inputs to output. On the one hand, inputs, on the other hand, output. In between technology, using the technology, we are transforming inputs into the output. Then we have another technical definitions from the other textbooks, the technical relationships between physical inputs and outputs. We have another definitions to specify the maximum possible output that can be produced for a given amount of inputs. And you have another textbook's definitions, the minimum quantity of inputs necessary to produce a given level of output. You have another one, the production functions are determined by the technology available to the firms. Then you can see in overall, in production functions, on the one hand, you have inputs, in other hand, output in between technology. By using technology or transforming inputs into the output. Then that is a start of our analysis. And you can see the normally the production functions you have on the one hand factors of production or inputs, on the other hand outputs. Then we call the firms or the black box of the firms. That is actually the machines. That's the engineer's part. Technical efficiency is the engineer's part. The economists, we are really interested about the economic efficiency. Then inputs can be the labor, land, material, capital, knowledge, etc. Anything can be inputs which is necessary to run the production process. Then you can see the functional forms. Q is the functions of the cost. Then you can see the normal forms. This can be separated into the K, L, L, A, M, that way. In your textbooks, you find the simplest forms. Then the Q is the functions of the K and L. K is a capital, L is a labor. But sometimes we are given a constant capital, or we are fixing the capital, only the labor is changing. Sometimes we are fixing the labor, only the capital is changing. Then what is going to happen for Q? That way, the economists are building so many theories by using what we call the partial equilibrium analysis. But general equilibrium analysis, both are changing together. Then what is going to happen for output? That is a little difficult. But anyway, the mathematics is there. Then we can do that also. Then you can see the technical efficiency and economic efficiency in the production. Then that is available, the handouts I gave to you to read. Technical efficiency is actually engineer's duty. That is your duty. The technical efficiency is a method of production which involve minimum amount of combination of the different factors. You can produce 100 units, but as a different combination of the capital and the labor. Then A option, B options. Then you can see you can add maybe other options. Then you can see the second one should be the more efficient, technically efficient than the first one. And that way you can figure out what is the technical efficiency. Economic efficiency is the really thing, but the economists are really interested. Economic efficiency is the use of resources to produce any given output level at a minimum cost. If you want to produce 100 units, option A, and the option B, option C, D, then you can see the second one should be less the costly compared with the first one. Then we can say it is economically, it is an efficient product. And this is a further explained in your what we call the extra readings. The one I gave that one to you. And thereafter we can say what is the time duration in economics. Normally economics analyze the short run, the long run, and the very long run. Then the short run means time period when at least one factor is in fixed supply. You can't change everything together. Sometimes the labor you can easily change, because as a country like Sri Lanka, we have abundance of the labor. Any person you can recruit, maybe skilled or unskilled or semi-skilled. It's not that much difficult, but capital may be difficult. We don't have machines and the money to buy the things, machinery related things. Therefore we naturally says that capital always should be fixed and the labor can be changed. Then what is going to happen for a output? Then you can see output can be changed by using a variable factor with a fixed factor. The length of the short run change firm to firm and the industry to industry. It depends on the industry. Sometimes maybe nuclear physics or maybe aerospace industry, maybe the short run can be 1-2 years, but in a textile sector or maybe the mobile sector, maybe it's maybe 1-2 days you can replace easily. Then it's changing to firm and industry to industry. That is available, the handout I gave with so many examples, industry and the firms wise. Then you can see the Q is a functions of the K and the L. K is a fixed factor, capital, and the variable factor is a labor. If a labor is going up and down, what is going to happen for a Q? That is the analysis we are going to do with you. And this is the short run situation. Short run means at least one factor is in fixed supply. Only the one factor is changing. That is a variable factor. If that's changing, what is going to happen to the production? That was our idea. Based on that one, we are taking so many curves and so many analysis. We can do that. Then the other one, the long run. Long run, you can see no fixed factors. All the factors are variable except the technology. In the long run also, you can't change the technology, but other things you can change it. And the very long run, the time period over which the technology might change. Then you can say economists analyze production, cost and revenue with respect to the short and the long run period. But very long run also available in advanced microeconomics books. You will see it's a heavily mathematical exercise, nothing else. And this is a further explanation of what is a fixed factor, what is a variable factor. Then you can see in the short run, at least one of the factors is fixed in supply. They can split short-run cost into fixed and the variable cost. Fixed costs are the costs which do not vary in the short run with the level of output. Then you can see it's a horizontal curve. It's not changing. You invest on the machines one time, that's it. But you can't change it within each and every day. But labor, you can change it. Variable costs are the costs which do vary in the short run with the level of output. It can be raw materials, heating, lighting, wage, labor, and these things, Then you can see we are starting to analyze with the change in the labor. Then you can see in studying the production functions, there are two types of relations between inputs and outputs that are of the interest for managerial decision making. The first one is a return to scale. Return to scale means relations between output and the variation in all inputs taken together. Then you can see the relations between the outputs and the variation in all inputs taken together. Everything is changing together. Nothing is stable, everything is a variable there. This plays an important role in managerial decision, especially they affect the optimal scale or size of a firm and its production facilities. They also affect the nature of competition in an industry and thus are important in determining the profitability of investment in a particular economic sector. Then you can see we can do a lot of analysis based on the return to scale part of the production functions. And another one, the return to factor. That means the relations between the output and variation in only one of the inputs employed. That means one factor is a fixed, other factor is a changing. The term of factor productivity and return to factor used to denote these relations between the quantity of an individual inputs or factors of production employed and the output produced. Then you can see factor productivity provide the basis for efficient resource employment in a production system. Then you can identify this factor, single factor, what they contribute, how the factor productivity goes up over the times. Therefore, this may be return to factor may be very good to analyze the productivity research. And you can see there we can see we are trying to analyze now the production behavior. Production behavior we can analyze with respect to total production, marginal production, and the average productions. Then you can see total product, that means total TP curve, the total output that results from a Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, now okay.
Okay.
Some technical problems, Now, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, right. There's some technical issues are coming. Right. Okay. Then we are discussing about how the total production curve is behaving. Then you can see generally this total production will rise as more unit of labor are employed with a fixed volume of capital. That means then you can see labor is changing, capital is fixed. Then what's going to happen for a TP, total production. But the trend of this curve has a different rate of increases. That's a very important, And you can see first it increases at increasing rate, then at a decreasing rate, and finally it will decline. Then you can see the total production curve behavior, because one factor is in fixed, capital fixed, only labor is changing. Then what is going to happen for a total product? First it increases at increasing rate, then at a decreasing rate, and finally it will decline. Then as a manager, you have to know how to explain it. What are the reasons behind the behavior of the total product curve in your factory floor? The explanation for this behavior can be found through the concept of marginal product. Why the total product is behaving that way? Because of the marginal product. Then you have to learn about the behavior of the marginal product. Then you can see the change in output associated with the unit change in one input factor, holding other inputs constant. Then you can see the change in output associated with the unit change in one input factor, holding other inputs constant. Then using the simple mathematics, you can say MP is a first order the differentiation to total product with respect to dq. Then you get the MP curve. Then you can see what is the marginal product curve behavior. This curve first goes up due to workers specialization. Then you can see why the first city increases at increasing rate. Why? Because due to the workers specialization, you do the same thing day and night, then you can do it quick, then you can save the time, cost is going down, and because you are getting specialization, you do the same thing, you take the assemble line, then you can do it quicker, lesser wastage, then you can do some experiment also to reduce the cost, and you can see spare capacity in the fixed factor. Another reason is still the fixed factor can absorb variable things, and then goes down to the full utilization of the fixed factor, because you can take that you have a 1 acre of land, then you can't put a 200 people to work in that acre land. The maximum you can put 100 people. Till you put 100 people, production is going up. If you put a more than 100, then you can see the fixed factor can't absorb more than that. Then eventually what is going to happen? For a production is going down. Then you can see finally it will decline. The decrease in rate, and thereafter finally it will decline. Then you can apply this onto the Sri Lankan public sector. Sri Lankan public sector total product curve behaving that way, because you need 5 people, but we have 25 people there. That is the private sector, you hardly see that one. In public sector, many countries, you find by using this curve, we can explain. And thereafter, we can go to the average product curve. Then you can see the total product divided by the unit of inputs employed. Then you get a AP, TP divided from the L. This curve first goes up, thereafter it goes down. Then you can see these curves are getting from the single production function. There are mathematically these curves have the very good relations. Then you can see relations between the average product curve and the marginal product curves. Average product curves goes up, then the marginal product curve always above it. And the average product curve goes down, then the marginal product curve always below it. These relationships can be explained through the principle of diminishing returns. Economists are coming out with another concept, what we call the principle of diminishing returns. Then what do you mean by principle of diminishing returns? That means more unit of a variable factor are combined with a given number of fixed factors. That means capital fixed, labor is a variable. There comes a point where the return to variable factor begin to decline. That is normal. If you see the next slide, then this curves, you can see how it is behaving. Then you can see TP curve going up, but different rate of increases when it will decline. And then you can see the marginal product curve behavior and the average product curve behavior. Then you can see these 3 curves have mathematical relations, because we are getting from the single production functions. And here the basic logic is a capital is fixed, only the labor is changing. Then what is going to happen for a total product? Then you have a total product, average product, marginal product. Here unit of labor, you are increasing this one, then how the production is behaving. Then economists can say a lot with a single curve. That is the beauty of these subjects. Then you can see some data there. Sometime in examination we are given this column and this column, and maybe this column some things are missing. Some are blank, and we say you to fill it. Then you can see input, total product, marginal product, average product. It's a simple mathematics, nothing else. In practically, if you do the curve, sometime may not come in as it is mentioned in the textbooks, but more or less shapes can be there. Some of the students are doing research, MBA research on this area, selecting some factories, and they want to analyze, then apply this production theory into, and they will say this type of curves they will find average and the marginal product curve, not exactly what the textbooks shapes they are saying. Then we can further explain about what is the law of diminishing returns. As the quantity of a variable input increases, with the quantities of all other factors being held constant, the resulting increase in the output eventually decrease. That means 1 acre of land can absorb maximum 100 people. You are increasing to 100 to 200, then definitely output will go down. Then what is happening in the public sector? Good example. Then further explanation of that one, holding all factors constant except one, the law of diminishing return says that beyond some level of variable input, further increases in the variable input leads to a steadily decrease in marginal product of that output. By using the marginal product, average product, we can explain why the total product curve is behaving that way. While we are doing the case studies, you will see that today case study also how the railway people are applying this concept to their work. Practically the companies are applying. The part of the textbooks I gave to you, you have so many examples, small cases, how the corporate world is applying these small concepts to their day-to-day decision making. Therefore, this may be very simple, but it's a very sound analysis. And thereafter, in that way, we can go for the cost analysis also. You can see the cost analysis plays a central role in the managerial or business economics, because virtually every managerial decision requires a comparison between the cost and the benefits. Human, we always, corporate, we always, take the decision comparing the cost and benefit. If there's a no benefit, at least not net benefit, we are never want to go into the anything. You take example, maybe transport projects. In transport projects, what we do first, we identify the cost. It can be we say capex, opex, capital expenditure, and the operation in the expenditure, that is a fixed cost, and the variable cost, they are of the benefit. Then how do you figure out the benefit of the railway? Or railway, you can say our case study is mainly railway, or maybe roads, transport sector. Then what are the benefits? How do you calculate the benefits? Because now we have a modeling, HTM4 models and, Strata type of, there are so many models available. Once you input the data, with the key parameters, then the benefits automatically come in. What are the benefits of the constructing the road? First one, the travel time savings, earlier 1 hour, now half an hour you can go there, then travel time savings so much, and what are the other things? Accident free, earlier so many accidents, now road is very clear, traffic rules are working, and then the accident benefits. And that way, then the vehicle operate in cost reduction, now the road is, the very smooth road, then you don't want to talk about the tire wastage and spare parts problems, because otherwise pothole type of, the roads, you have so many problems, and that way maybe so many other, these are direct benefits can be, environmental benefit, earlier so much environmentally, maybe there's so much problem will come, heavy congestions, due to that one, heavy fuel usage and things like, but now road is a very smooth, anybody can go quickly, traffic laws are working, and these are the direct benefit, sometimes indirect benefits, now road is better, then once you construct the road, what is the first thing going to happen? The lands around the roads prices are going up, then the new houses are coming, new businesses are coming, new schools are coming, then good schools, good transport, good teachers are coming, thereafter education is going up, and hospitals are coming, people's living standard going up, lifestyle changing, and income is coming, industries are coming. In that way, you can analyze so many direct, indirect benefits. Cities are developing, but the government did only construction of the road. You take a Malaysian development, how they got it? They link each and every corner of the country together, railway and transport, so many other modes. Then whatever, then within 10-15 years, Malaysia came to develop country, the most countries, then that way, first we identify the cost, thereafter benefit, thereafter we are comparing it, there should be net benefit, otherwise we don't go on for a project, then the economist has what we call we have EIR, economic internal rate of return, we are checking it, what exactly this project is going to generate for national economy. Thereafter we have what we call the cost benefits ratios we have. And we have a ENPV's calculations, we have a social calculations, environmental calculations. And that way, we are trying to count the benefit, Then you can see once you construct the road, maybe after 10 years later, you can see whole area is developed. Government did only the construction of the roads, only movement, free movement, government allow better. In that way, you can see we take decisions based on the comparing the cost and the benefit, Therefore, as a manager, you got to know how to identify the cost, how to minimize the cost, and how to identify the benefit, how to maximize the benefit, That is the basic things what we teach in economics, The economics teach the basics of business, How to minimize cost, how to maximize the benefit or revenue, we call it. Then you can see there are a number of cost concepts available in economics. We have relevant cost and the opportunity cost. Then you have accounting cost and the economics cost. Well, you can see that, economics costs are based on the opportunity cost. Accounting costs are based on the market cost. Market cost always what we call the distorted cost, The market cost is influenced by the government, government has taxes, subsidies, direct controls. You take maybe today dollar price, the government market price is 202, but 202 rupees, no one can't find a dollar in the market, If you want to buy a dollar, it is 250 over, At least 270, 80, that is a price, that is then according to economic cost, we are taking the real price. We don't take the market one because we have the calculations for that one, we have so many formulas to use the economic cost. Then sometimes we are multiplying for 1.6 nowadays, maybe 1.2, maybe 0.9, that way, because the accounting, the cost reporting and the economic cost reporting are two different, because our cost reporting based on the opportunity cost concepts. What are the other alternatives available? Actually, what is the real fact endowments of the country? What the market giving according to supply demand without government interference? So, because government always distort the system, because we say the government has a taxes, government has a subsidies, government directly control. Then we have another one, the explicit versus the implicit cost. Some cost you can see, some you can't, like cultural cost, environmental cost, it takes years to feel it, Therefore, that part also we are counting, especially social cost of things, environmental cost. Maybe it's not explicit, it's a very implicit, it's a hidden cost. And the marginal cost and the incremental cost, because we are heavily using the economics, marginal cost and incremental cost to take the right decisions. And some cost, then you can see while you are leaving the industry, you cannot recover this cost like a human resource training cost and things like maybe some of the cost you incurred for buildings, you can't recover it, and that way. And normally we analyze the cost with respect to the short and the long run cost. Then you can see there are plenty of cost concepts available. You are learning cost concept of your financial management lecture also, according to the accounting cost concepts. But we need that also, economics, we can't take all the decisions based on the economic cost. We badly need a financial cost also. We have to see what we call the capex and opex part we are taking from them, but we are adjusting it with our cost concepts. And the short run cost concepts, you can see the short run total cost. Total cost means TC, fixed, and the variable cost in the production. Then you can see here TC equal TFC plus TVC, total fixed cost plus the total variable cost. You can see a capital cost and the labor cost, maybe raw material cost. Then the TC, and the total fixed cost, you can see the total fixed cost which does not change with output, and it is a overhead or capital cost. This curve is a horizontal or flatter curve, production changing, but the total fixed cost is the constant curve. And the total variable cost, we can see TVC, costs which change with output, the labor and raw material cost example. This curve is the inverse shape of the total product curve. The behavior of the total variable cost, first it increases at decrease in rate. That means the additional unit of labor add more value to the production, and then increases at the increase in rate. That means the additional unit of labor add more to the cost rather to the production. That is why this total variable cost is behaving that one. We can have very many verifications to obtain this the costing curves. And thereafter we can go for a short run average total cost curve. Then you divide from the number of unit you produce, then you get a ATC curve, ATC equal AFC plus AVC. Then you can see AFC curve behavior, average fixed cost curve behavior. As a manager, you got to know, we very carefully have to see these curves. These curves we are deriving out of your factory flow. You are putting machines, labor, raw material together, and you are producing something. But economists, we analyze how this is going to work with respect to the time period with your inputs and output. Then you can see average fixed cost falls as output increases, and it is a continually downward sloping. It is the fixed cost per unit of output produced. Then the average variable cost curve. Then earlier we were talking about the total curve. Now we are talking about the average curve. That means we are dividing from the number of unit we produce. Then you can see average variable cost first falls and then rise, and it is the inverse shape of the average product curves. And the average product rises, then the average variable cost falls. Average product falls, then the average variable cost rises due to the changes in the labor productivity. Why it is happening? Because due to the changes in the labor productivity. Then average total cost curve, we can see first falls and then rise, mainly due to the AVC curves behavior. Then different verifications we can get for a average fixed cost, average total cost minus average variable cost. In that way, average variable cost, we can take the average total cost minus average fixed cost. There are so many verifications available in the handouts which I gave to you. Then another important thing is the marginal cost. Marginal cost we are heavily using in economics, because marginal cost shares the exact real cost the society is incurred for something. There you can say the marginal cost is the increase in total costs when output is increased by 1 unit. Then you can say MC equal to the first order differentiations to TC with respect to Q. This is a differentiation, nothing else. Then you can see its behavior start at high, then falls, then again rises. That is the behavior of the marginal cost curve. Start at high and then falls, then again rises. The main reasons for this behavior is the production techniques. Then you can see at low level of output, simple techniques, then cost goes up, then the output increases, then the sophisticated techniques, then the economies of scales will emerge, then the output further increases, then the diseconomies of scales, then the such as organization problem, then the cost is going up. Then you can see why the cost is going down, why it is stable, why it's going up. Then you can see there are technical relations available between the marginal cost, average variable cost, average total cost, because we are taking all these from the single production functions. They are naturally mathematical relations are there. Then you can see the short-run cost relation. Sometime in examination, we are giving some of these columns and some are missing. We say you to derive it, it's nothing else, simple mathematics. You can easily derive if you know it The TC means TFC plus TVC, The ATC means AFC plus AVC. MC, the first order difference is with the TC with respect to Q, then you get MC, That way you can verify it. Then you can see the shape of the short-term cost curves. Then you can see this is the what we call the fixed cost curve, the horizontal or flatter one. You have a total variable cost curves. You have this is a total cost, and this is a total variable cost. This is a total fixed cost. Then you can see here we say the increase in productivity of variable factors, decrease in productivity of variable factors, and that way we can analyze. Once we do the case studies, you will really understand all these things. You can see for the simplification of all these curves, short-run cost curves. Then you see the marginal cost curve start at high, going down, stable, going up. Then you can see production is going up, and you can see the average total cost curve, average variable cost curve, average fixed cost curve. You can see the difference between these here, the bigger difference here, the very shorter differences. Then there are technical reasons behind that one. Then we can put a MR curve also here. MR is a half of the AR curve. AR curve is a demand curve. Then you can see MR equal MC condition satisfied here, this place. Then you come down and fix the output, go up and to the AR curve, you fix the price. This is the way the companies are working, whether you like or not. This is the way economic modeling it, If you are here, you have to increase your production. If you are here, you have to decrease. Then you are coming to the profit maximizing output. Then practically you will see, we will discuss some case studies. Then you will see that one. Then you can see bring in fixed cost and the variable cost together. Then you can see fixed cost behavior, then average variable cost, average total cost behavior. At least you can see the shape of these curves. Then you can see the average total cost curve behavior and the marginal cost. Whenever it goes up, it cuts the minimum area of ATC curve. Then there are technical reasons behind it. Then you can see the relationship between the average and the marginal curves. Average cost is falling when marginal cost is less than average cost, and rising when marginal cost is greater than average cost. That means AC is declining whenever the marginal cost is below average cost, and rising whenever marginal cost above for it. Then you can see average cost is at minimum at the output level at which the average cost and the marginal cost cross. That means MC marginal cost cuts the minimum point of the average cost. These are mathematical relations. Then you can take another concept. This is very clearly explained in the handout which I gave to you. Short-run optimality. There are so many concepts the economists are taking out of this cost analysis. One of the concepts is the short-run optimality. Then you can see short-run optimality. Full or maximum capacity that is equal to firm produces at minimum level of short-run average cost curve, and at this point all the inputs are employed to their optimum efficiency. That is why you can say why no one cannot compete with the Chinese construction firms, because all the Chinese construction firms are working in a short run, the minimum area of a short run average cost curve. If we get a Sri Lankan construction companies, we are not working, we are maybe left or right, we are working, but we are not working in the minimum area. That is why we are not competitive. And you can see if the firm faces the long U-shape or social cost curve, the range of these minimum points are called load factor, normal capacity utilization. The company should work in that area, then the company should be competitive. Otherwise, they can't sell in the international market. That is why Chinese can do it. Why the Japanese are very good in the automobiles, or maybe now it is coming to other countries. Then sometime back, you remember Sri Lankan tea, we were working, our tea sector is working that area, but now not anymore. Then you can see if a firm producing a point right to this, then its average cost is rising. If firm is producing left to this point, then the firm has a reserve capacity. Firm is not fully utilizing its production, factors of production. Then you can see that by using the short-run opportunity, short-run cost curve analyzing, we can see a lot of policy prescription, Sometime maybe likewise early example, the company come and say to you, look, earlier I was making a profit, I am not now making profit. Can you help me? Then this problem may be there. They are working in the wrong place of the short-run cost curve. That is why all these problems. So you analyze and thereafter you say them to prescription. You go to this place, then they are again back in the business. Now we can go to the self-study, exercise 1. If you're interested, you can do that one later. Identify the main fixed and variable costs needed to operate within the following industry. Let's assume that you have a entrepreneurship MBA following students. The idea is to start the business one day. Then before you start the business, the first thing come into the equation is a costing. You have to identify the cost elements. Then you can see what are the variable costs, what are the fixed cost items. Newspaper business. what are the fixed cost newspaper business? You need the machineries, you need the buildings, and what are the variable costs? You need the ink, you need the writers, you need the papers, you need the transport, and all these things. Then if you identify it, then now you know the behavior of these cost curves. Then you can easily identify, you can easily minimize. And the jewelry retailing, somebody want to start the jewelry retailing business, then you have to know first what is the fixed cost, what is the variable cost. Electronic component manufacture business, then what are the fixed costs, what are the variable costs. Electricity generation, what are the fixed costs, what are the variable costs. Software development, if you want to start, the first thing you have to see what are the fixed costs, what are the variable. Sometimes due to technological development, maybe now the fixed cost is can be zero, only the variable cost you can work if you are following the what we call the zero inventory methods. Now supply chain completely has changed, up and down. With zero inventory you can do very many things now. And the cellular telecommunication, if you want to start a cellular telecommunication business, first thing you have to figure out the cost. What are the fixed cost items, what are the variable cost items. Then you see the behavior of these things. And hotel management company, if you want to start a hotel management company, first thing you got to know what are the costs and what type of cost, the fixed cost elements and the variable cost element. Then you can easily figure out your business rightly. In your textbooks, you have the respective chapter and the other textbooks which I gave, the more explanation for that one, identification of the cost in fixed and the variable cost to start the business. Now, so far we discussed the short run cost curve. Now we can go for a long run cost curve. Then you can see in the long run, all the factors are variable and accordingly, firm can change its scale of operation. However, firms cannot change all the variables together. Therefore, long run is going to be a series of short run period. You can't change everything together. Gradually, you have to do. Therefore, we can say that long run is going to be a series of short run period. During this period, firms will change the scale of operations. That means the amount firm is able to produce in relation to its size, which will affect for productive efficiency in three ways. First, we say the constant return to scale. Second one, we say the increase in return to scale. Third one, we say the decrease in return to scale. We are trying to analyze now long run cost curve behavior. Then you see start at high, going down, stable, going up. That is the way long run cost curve is moving. Then we analyze in the long run cost curve behavior with respect to what we call the productive efficiency in the three ways. The first one, constant return to scale. Second one, increase in return to scale. Third one, the decrease in return to scale. Then you can see the long run average cost curve. In the long run, quantities of all inputs can be varied. That means nothing is fixed. Everything is a variable except the technology. This means that there are no fixed costs in the long run. And so the long run average cost curve is different from the short run average cost curve we have considered so far. It is more enlarged or social shape one. It is the envelope of the short run cost curve. That means short run going to be a series of the short run. The long run going to be a series of collection of the short run cost curves. Then you see this one. Then you can see the long run average cost curve, what we call the LRAC curve is a SRAC1, SRAC2, 3, 4, up to 5, 6, then up to n you can say. Then you can see this is a long run average cost curve. We are trying to analyze this one. Start at high, production is going up, but cost is going down. It's a very good situation, Thereafter cost is to a certain extent is stable. Thereafter is going up. Then how can we explain this behavior? Production is going up. The unit cost is behaving this way. Then you can see the relationship between the long run average cost curve and the long run marginal cost curve, same like in the short run. Then you can see this behavior we can explain. We are trying to explain the long run average cost curve. We can explain through the increase in return to scale, constant return to scale, and the decrease in return to scale concepts. Then you can see there are economies of scales when long run average cost decreases as output rises, so volume of output rises more quickly than the volume of inputs, what we call the increase in return to scale stages. And there are constant return to scale when long run average costs are constant as output rises, so volume of output increases in the same proportion to the volume of the inputs. There are diseconomies of scales. That means decrease in return to scale. That is a dangerous situation. Cost is going up. And when long run average cost increases as output rises, or volume of output rise less quickly than the volume of inputs. These are explained by the presence of both internal and external economies and the diseconomies of scale in the production process. Then this is a very clearly explained, the handout which I gave to you. This is one of the reasons for giving that handout, because you can read it less early, then you can easily understand why this long run average cost curve behaving with respect to the increase in return to scale, constant return to scale, and the decrease in return to scale. What are the reasons behind this one? Then the reason is the internal and the external economies and the diseconomies of the scales. Due to the economies, cost is going down, diseconomies, cost is going up. Then it can come from the internal or external factors. You find for any organization, you take a Morocco University, that is the way it works. Then you can say return to scale, then you have a long run average cost curves, then long run marginal cost curve is there, then you can see increase in return to scale area, cost is going down, and you have a constant return to scale. That is a very good area, minimum efficient scale, we say that. The company should work in this area, then the company becomes the most competitive producer in the market. No one cannot compete with this company, like Japanese automobiles are working in this area. Maybe the Chinese construction firms are working, all the firms are working in this area. Then according to some matured market like USA, European Union, all the utilities should work in this area, They have to report this minimum efficient scales to the regulatory bodies, utility commissions. But in a country like Sri Lanka, we don't have that type of, very hard utilities commissions and, regulatory bodies, but otherwise they don't allow the utilities, so maybe the high-end industries to work in here over there, Then if you work here, it create problem to other producers. If you work here, it create problem to the consumers. Therefore, the company should work in there. If any company can work there, then you can say you are the most competitive producer in the market. No one can't compete with you, Sometime back, Sri Lankan tea was here, Sometime back, Sri Lankan garment sector may be here, not anymore. Maybe now they are working here, decrease in return scale. Then the company should work in a minimum efficient scale area. Then we have to find, the normally people in the treasury, bank ministry, the economists in central bank, they are doing this one for each and every product. They take the big companies, they take and they analyze the cost, which area they are working. Then this is a further explanation of that one, long run average cost curve, increase in return to scale, decrease in cost of production, the constant return to scale, constant cost of production, and the decrease in return to scale again, and the increase in cost of the production. And we can explain internal and external one. Read the handouts given, that is very clearly explained. Internal economies of the scales, due to that one, cost can go, economies internal to the firms, resulting from a more efficient utilization of the resources. Internal, the company can control it, that is there in hand. This can be technical or non-technical. That means it can come from the labor side, it can come from the investment indivisibilities. It can come from the large scale procurements, Sometimes you can say the supermarket vegetables, sometimes cheaper than the outside vegetable, because they have a large scale procurements, they have agreement with the farmers. Due to that one, they can sell sometime for the less than the market price, outside price. Due to the R&D cost is going down, due to the capital cost is going down, diversifications cost is going down, and the promotion side, it can, due to the transport and distribution efficiency, it can go down. Due to the byproduct, rather than single product, you can diversify with the byproduct, then the cost is going down. Due to the specialization, you do the same thing day and night for years, then the cost is going down anyway, And the flexible manufacturing, large scale necessary to take the advantage, and the reserve capacity, and the end of learning period, then you can see due to all these things, the internal economies of scales, Sometime maybe you can take a Morocco example, then due to that 1 hour labor side, maybe you can say the academic side or non-academic side or admin side or any other, minor staff rate, that one, due to that one, maybe we are maybe not fully utilizing them. If we can fully utilize them, the cost is going down, revenue is coming up. And that way, investment indivisibilities, we are not fully utilizing our computers, Once you fully utilize, cost is going down. And the large scale procurements type of things that way. And the external economies of the scales, you can see economies brought about by the growth or concentration of the industry. You can say why all the American software giants are going for the Bangalore, because Bangalore has external economies of scales. All these people get together and all the labor people, computers, accessory suppliers, and everybody is there. Then you can see the existence of the good labor force there. Then why the software giants are not coming to Sri Lanka? Because we don't have enough people. Sometimes they want to hire at a time maybe 50,000 people, but which we don't produce there. India is doing that one. And due to that one, cost is going down. Existence of the network of suppliers, that area, and the existence of the social and economic and the environmental infrastructure, due to that one, the cost is going down. Then that is why we say the industrial cluster concepts and the incubation concepts and, common facility provision. Due to that one, external economies of scale, we call it external to the firm, but that is available in the regional economy, national economy available. Due to that one, cost is going down. India is a good example. In your textbooks, you have so many examples. And the decrease in revenue scale, so other way around, dangerous situation. Internal diseconomies of scales. Now the company become larger, it's a diversified, it's expanding, it's enlarging. Then the due to management problem comes always. Sometimes maybe you don't see your CEO, sometimes to meet the CEO it takes time, and the labor problems come, more labor they are organizing, and they are, the trade union actions they are taking, and the input side also, due to the scale expanding. And the external diseconomies of scale, sometimes too many industries are concentrated, like Singapore, what happened, like Dubai, what happened, everything, real estate prices and everything, labor prices are very high. Now they are looking for another cheaper locations. Companies are moving always. In some business, some range, you have this problem, external diseconomies of scale. Time of the business, you have that one. Once the companies do see you have what we call it's a decrease in revenue scale, what the companies are doing, solutions to decrease in the problem, relocation of the operations. They identify the what are the inside things, what is the cost is going up. They find always problem with the labor intensive part. Then they identify the labor intensive part and they relocate to our part of the world. That is why we are getting business. If they want to do it in the western part of the world, the labor shortage and labor is very expensive. Then they identify the labor intensive part and they relocate to us. And the contract out they identify this is the area where cost is going up. They contract out to some other parties, third party, fourth, fifth party logistics are there, reorganization of the management structures, they don't want to go for earlier hierarchy methods, flat structure. You're learning from your management lecturers what are the management structures now, the very famous among the corporate world. And if you don't have any other choice, you pay 3 months salary and lay off the workers, then you substitute more machines for that one, and the productivity increase by new technology and the HR programs. You are sending the executives or maybe selected mid-level people to the universities, and the what we call the various training programs, exposure trips, and and that way they are trying to change their mentality and trying to change their productivity improvements. And you can see that whenever the companies do see this decrease in scale, companies are taking so many things, because while your production is going up, cost is going up. It's a very dangerous situation. If you don't have any other choice, as we are discussing last part of the lecture, they are closing down it, or they are maybe outsourcing to somebody else. You do that business. And the minimum efficient scales in business economics, we are heavily talking about this one. The point at which the long run average cost curve first become horizontal or flatter, and it is the technical optimum scale of production. It gives firms a strong competitive advantage in the marketplace over higher cost producers. Beyond this minimum efficient scale, firms do not have additional economies of scales. Expand in scale, firms can further enjoy minimum efficient status. Then the managerial problems and other diseconomies are going to emerge. Then you can see the minimum efficient scale is the very good concepts. The company should work in that area, especially utility like electricity, water, gas type of people always have to show their cost curve to the utility, what we call the regulatory bodies. But Sri Lanka, that is not happening. Then otherwise they will exploit the consumers always. Another concept is economies of scope. Then you can see this exists where, excuse me, several different output draw on a common resources, and it is a diversification, the same or different production or marketing lines. This diversification leads to cost savings. Generally, economies of scales and scope reinforce each other to minimize the cost. Then you can see the general economies of scale. So far we discussed the scale, how it comes. The scale will help to reduce the cost, and the scope, diversification, same or different line. You take a companies like Unilever, they are diversifying the same line. The palm oil is a raw material, and the food range, and they are after detergent range. Shampoos, detergent, washing powders, type of things. But if you do get maybe like John Keel's, they were A to Z everywhere. They are in a supermarket, they were in a hotel, they were real estate, computer business, and some are diversifying into different areas. Then you can see ultimately the economies of scales and scope reinforce each other to minimize the cost. You take sometime maybe the Moratuwa University. What are the economies of scales and scope available for Moratuwa University? We take a scope diversifications. We can have maybe 2 shift or maybe 3 shift. At the moment we open 9 o'clock we close 4:30, if you come to 4:30, no one in the Motor University, everything closed, but we can have another shift, then we can have another intake, another students we can recruit, but we never want to do. We can have branches, as a diversification. We can have one in Jaffna, one in Anuradhapura, one in Kandy, one in Mathura, but we never want to do that. And we can have branch in other like Dubai, Singapore, because our staff is good, then because they are heavily, I mean, the Western countries trained staff, PhDs we have, then we can easily do, but we are not allowed to do it. And we can have maybe so many full-fledged consultancy arms, and we can do very many things. Even sometimes we can have external degrees, not the engineering, but there are so many other areas, but we were not doing that one. And again, so we can have maybe some by the business magazine and things like, journal articles or journals publishing, but that also make money. But even we can have a hotel belong tomorrow to university, all the universities have their own hotel, but whatever money we have, we can invest somewhere, but we are not allowed to do that, Then you can see so many economies of scales, scope available within Morocco, but we are not utilizing it, Sometimes our staff, we can say that, have we really fully utilized their capacities, quite surely is, we are not utilizing 40% of their capacities, lecturers, even our admin staff, and non-academic staff, sometimes maybe our lab facilities, you can see 4 o'clock we close, sometimes we can hire weekends, these halls and, lecture halls, labs to private sector to use it, but, they're not doing it, If we allow our lecture halls to use to tuition people, we can make a good money, advanced level tuition people come and weekend they are using our lecture halls, because we close it, then we can have extra income, That way you can see economies of scales and scope. We can have plenty of, areas to generate revenue, The degree of the economies of scope, you can see, we can measure that one, It's better to produce a single produce, it is better to produce separately, or it's more economical to produce jointly. Then you can see that companies are doing it. In your textbooks, you have so many examples. This is what we call the sources of economies of scales and scope. As I said earlier, it can come from the inside and outside situations, and from different sections of the company, production department or marketing department or managerial department, other department, and so many sources it can come. Another concept is inefficiency, the situation of wastage of firms' resources and its cost higher than the necessary level. In industry, everybody has to have equal costing level. But that is not the case. This can happen due to the managerial or technological or any other factor. This firm cannot exist market in the long run. Long run, you can't stay if the cost is higher than the average cost in the industry. Most of the public sector institutions have this problem, the resource wastage. But generally, in the long run, in competitive market, firms cannot survive if they have X inefficiency problem. X inefficiency problem means full efficient firms only survive. We can measure it as actual cost point minus the minimum efficient scales. Then you can see you have to incur the cost B, but you are incurring A. Then you can see unnecessarily, then you can't survive in the long run. Public sector, you have these situations. Another one, the learning effect. Due to learning effect also, then you can see the cost is going down, long average cost is going down, because due to the learning effect, your operation management lecturer is going to explain this one. Firm accumulates business experience over the years, which improve its production and organizational method, which ultimately reduce the cost of production. That means learning by doing approach. At managerial level, the learning effect occurs, perfection and precision reached due to the constant practice of managerial decision making, because you are doing day and night the same thing. You can do it better quickly without resource wastage, and to find it more efficient production and the business procedures. Your learning curve, after your learning period is over, you're not wasting so much resources. You're an expert in that area. Then that is why the firms always looking for experienced guys. Whenever you can hire the experienced guys, then it will save your cost. Knowing better ways to use your tools and equipment over the years you are doing it, you know how to do it quickly, and it will directly affect to the cost reduction. Familiarization with the production activities, which help to give a good instructions to subordinate. If you are a supervisor, then you know how to instruct them and getting done the work. As a good managers, they never work, they only know how to get done the work, give the right instruction, the right placement of the right people. That is HR department and the manager's duty. Better coordination and control, it will reduce the long run average cost curve, good integration of the works, and the better total quality management, better project management and scheduling. Then you can see due to that one, the learning effect, the long run average cost curve is going down. The operation management lecturer explained during their teachings, how the long run average cost curve going down due to the experience curve and the learning curves. And learning effect rate also, we can measure it. Now we can go for another self-study exercise. What are the potential sources of economies of scales and scope in the following industries? So in your firm's organization, sometimes you can take your organization, let's assume that you are working to telecom, or you are working to maybe Holcim, you are working to Dialog, or maybe you are working to Virtusa. Then you can see what are the economies of scales and scope available in your firm and how far you are utilizing. What is your advice to the management to utilize further that one to reduce the cost? I just put a few areas: consumer finance, what are the economies of scales and the scope, pharmaceutical sector, printing, road construction, recorded music industry, shoe manufacturing, retail, training and education. You can take that one. The Moratuwa University, what are the economies of scales and scope available for Moratuwa University? Then, as I said earlier, the sources of economies of scales available everywhere, internal to the Moratuwa University, external to the Moratuwa University, external to the, internal to the, you can see it can come from any department or any faculty, Moratuwa moving with the STM line. Then you can see now we have a 5-6 faculties, including graduate studies. Then the economies of scales can come from very many department or faculties. It can come from even the non-academic unit, like a transport sector, maybe our library, or maybe our what we call the cleaning side. And the scope means as a diversifications. We can diversify Moratuwa into very many areas. Because we have that expertise. Now we have medical faculty. We can have full-fledged hospitals. Then not only we are using to the clinical science working, but also we can say allow patients to come and get a treatment. End of the day, they are making money. Then we don't want to depend on the government money. Then that money we are earning our own money. Likewise, our MBA degree programs, we are little charging from you, but we are not making profit. We are not allowed to make a profit. But whatever we get, we spend everything. Finally, it should be zero. That's the way, then we can see a lot of economies of scales and scope available in your, sometimes maybe your home, you have so many members, your kids' talents and, things like, by using, you can diversify, you can identify the where the economies of scales and scope can get out of your home, maybe your neighborhood. Sometimes we can say the Moratuwa University, what are the external to the Moratuwa University? You start from where the Dehiwala to Moratuwa, you find 17 technical colleges, related, maybe KDU, SLIT, and IDP. There are so many, but we never work together, That's a problem, the clustering networking we can easily do, incubations, but we are not doing sometimes same thing we are repeating, Higher College of Technology, and there are plenty of, we found there are 17 technology related institutes available from Dehiwala to Moratuwa, but none of us work together. That may be the problem. If we can work together, these are external to our organization, economies of scales, scope, we can get out of that one. Cost is going down. We are not doing it. Sometimes we start, for instance, the instead of developing our own labs, the medical faculty is now using the KDU labs, Kotala, the Defense University labs, medical, because we don't have money to build that one. In that way, then it will reduce our cost, then we can use that money to something else. And that way, we can see external to the Moratuwa University, there are plenty of things available. Now we can go to the other part of our lecture, profit maximization. This profit maximization, you can see it's a different from the revenue maximization. Then total revenue minus total cost, that is a profit, normal level, everybody knows it. Then TR minus TC, that means total revenue minus total cost, that is a profit. And then you can see, then you do the first order differentiation to TR with respect to Q, and you do the first order differentiation to TC with respect to Q, then you get a marginal things, We do the first order differentiation, any functions, you get a marginal one, marginal revenue, that means MR, other one, the marginal cost MC. Then you can see profit maximizing condition or rule in economics is we are equating MR equal MC. Thereafter, we go to the AR curve and fix the price. You come down to the horizontal curve and then the x-axis, and we find output. That is the way the companies are working. But if you can put all the cost curve there, we can easily identify for each unit what are the costs we incurred, what is the total fixed cost, total average cost, marginal cost, and the average fixed cost. And all these things we can easily get it. But you have that curves are there in your textbooks. Then you can see profit maximizing output decisions. If you are working this way, That means while you are doing the MR is more than the MC, then your output should go up. You should produce more. And if you are going to the MR equal MC situation, this is the right place for you to stay. And this other way around, while you're increasing the production, you're adding more to the cost, less to the revenue, then you should reduce your production. Then you can see the profit maximizing output and revenue maximizing output are two different concepts. Then you can see in order to maximize profit, you don't want to work that much hard, but you have to work in a very smart manner. Then you can see price is 16, the quantity 6, and you have a highest number of 1. Then you produce maybe then 10, but you are in a negative, you're not maximizing profit, you're maximizing only revenue. Then the revenue maximization and the profit maximization are two different concepts in the economics. Then we can further explain this one, marginal cost curve. Marginal cost is the increase in the total cost when output is increased by 1 unit. Its behavior start at high, then falls, and then again rises. We explain the reasons for that. And these things we are discussing in a market structure lesson again. Marginal revenue, you can see, is the increase in total revenue when output increased by 1 unit. Its behavior depends on the firm's demand curve. Generally, it is downward for most market structure except for the perfect comparison. Then you can see perfect comparison. The marginal revenue demand curve price is a horizontal one because million buyers, million sellers, no one has impact for a price. But other three market structures are different. Then you can see half of the AR curve is MR curve. If you want to sell more, then you have to reduce the price. Then people are buying your product. And these things we'll explain again in your market structure one. Then you can see all the cost curve we can put there. You have marginal cost curve, you have average total cost, average variable cost, average fixed cost. Then you have MR1, so half of the AR curve. Then you can see this is a profit maximizing place. If you are here, you should go there. If you are here, you should reduce. Then you are coming to here. Here you are making the revenue maximization, not the profit maximization. Here you are underutilizing that one. And this is the way firms are working. Thereafter we can do the comparative static analysis. We are comparing different equilibriums together. Your marginal cost can go up and down while marginal revenue is stable. Then what is going to happen for a Q? And the comparative static analysis, again, your marginal revenue can go up and down, then marginal cost is stable. Then what is going to happen for a Q situation? We are comparing different equilibriums together. And thereafter we can say that, the break-even points, seen the figure A and B, you can find out very many things, break-even points, loss-making area, profit-making area, maximum profit area. And then you can see that by using these curves, you can easily analyze, you can see the TFC curves is there, TVC curve, TC curve is there, all the short-run cost curves are there, short-run average total cost curve, short-run average variable cost curve, the AFC curve is there, MC curves there. Then you can see all these curves are getting from the single production functions. They have therefore mathematical relations. Then you can see the total revenue cost curve, total cost curves. Then you can see highest difference as highest profit. And you are coming down, they can see MR equal MC condition satisfied here. You go to AR curve and fix the price, you come down and fix the output. This is the way the companies are working. We analyze this one from your factory flow. We identify your revenue side, costing side, and thereafter your demand side, and you figure out it. This is the way companies are working, whether you like or not. These are models we can develop. We can further explain that one with the profit situations. Normal profit means at a break-even profit, firms make a zero profit. But economists name it as a normal profit based on the opportunity cost concepts. Abnormal profit or supernormal profit, normally in a monopoly you find it. Surplus above the normal profit, then between Q1 and Q4 situation. And you have what we call the shutdown price. Below the normal profit, the firm does not get full cost recovery. Therefore, they will decide to shut down the business. Then you can say this is the way business are taking decision. Then P5 situation, what is it? You have the abnormal profit. And the P4 situation, you have a normal profit. And if you have the P2 situation, shutdown situations, then you can see they take some part of the fixed cost, but the variable cost they don't get, then they like to shut down. This is the way companies are deciding whether to continue or not. Then you have this table, the short-term production decisions you can see, and these situations, and these both situations you can see, they will decide to leave the industry in the long run, then they stop production in the short run. This is a situation where they are stopping it, make a loss equal to the fixed cost, then still they like to, because the fixed cost they already incurred Therefore, they are taking the part of the fixed cost, they are doing it, but this situation, they are closing down. That is the way the companies are working. And thereafter, you have some exercise. This is available in your main textbooks. Usage of profit maximization model to loss-making firms. Then you can see they have a Baldwin Fashion Limited. This firm makes profit till very recent, but now in loss. And considering closing down the business, then you got to know that, they got to know that you have completed the MBA degree from Moratuwa. Then they feel that, you can help them, you advise to regain the profit and to remain in the industry. Solution, you first identify their cost curves, and thereafter their demand curves and the revenue curves. Thereafter you combine all these things. Then you can see problem lie in a variable cost. Sometimes you hire the wrong people, and sometimes maybe fixed cost. You went for the wrong source of finance, you order the wrong machines, and that way, then you can easily figure out where the problems. Either it is a costing side or either it's a demand side. You didn't do the marketing campaign to prop up your demand. That is why maybe you have to change the color or change the taste and put into the different markets, maybe fixing the right price, and all these things. If you can combination of all these things, if you can do all these things, then you are again back in the business, nothing else. Then you have that one in your the handout I gave. Even the main textbooks also, you have so many examples. How do you apply this production cost and the revenue relations to practical decision making? Consultants are doing it. Sometimes maybe some companies are coming and saying to us, look, earlier I was making a profit, now I'm not making any profit, can you help me? Then the first thing I check at their production situations, thereafter their costing situations, and thereafter costing we can say variable and the fixed cost side. Then we can identify where are the problems, and thereafter demand side, then why they don't, why people don't want their product. Then we need sometimes we can prescribe by base of the elasticity analysis. We can recommend the marketing campaign, promotional campaigns. Combination all these three things, we can advise. Then they are again back in the business. These are the things what consultants are doing. Then they are charging so much money for that one. And for today's lecture, then you have what we call the managerial application of cost functions by the railroad. This is a group exercise. This is a little excessive case. Class should be divided into groups. We already done it. Study case and analyze. Please write your answers with group members' names. Then this one will options, because in online classes it's very hard to do that one, but we can discuss this, Right, this is it. And anybody has a questions regarding this production cost and the revenue one? You got to know as a manager how to analyze the production part of it. That means total production, average production, marginal production, and how these curves are behaving, why these curves are behaving, what are the reasons behind it. Then you will understand how the manufacturing flow, factory flow is working. And thereafter costing curves. The costing can be total cost, average cost, variable cost, and marginal cost. Thereafter revenue part of it. Is coming from the demand side, and what is the marginal revenue, what is the marginal cost, you equate and go to the AR curve and fix the price, come down, and then you can do very many things. Likewise, here we did likewise the break-even points, no loss, no profit, loss-making area, profit-making area, maximum profit area. Then you've seen this is the way companies are working. You can see all these curves we learn are there. This is a complete analysis. And this is the way your factory flow is working. If you get any manufacturing firms, these are the way curves are behaving, while they're increasing the production, and these are the way cost curves are behaving. This AR curve is a demand curve, half of that one MR curve. If you put a perfect comparison, the AR, MR, D curve is going to be very horizontal, flatter curves. This may be other three market structures. When it comes to the perfect comparison, I will explain that one. And this is the way companies are taking decisions to stay in the business or close down the business. By look at the cost situation, they will decide whether we like or not. We check out of the 1,000 factories, out of that 999 factories, this is the way they are taking decisions. Economists, we model it. By using this table, we can further explain that one. Right? Anybody has a questions to ask from me? Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear, sir.
Yeah, anybody has a production cost revenue analysis? These are very simple but very sound. Practically, we can apply to very many situations. Let me share with you what we call the case study for today.
So regarding the sunk cost, so
Yeah,
any
sunk cost.
example you
Yeah,
can give?
I mean, you send somebody for your MBA, tomorrow to university, right? After you come back, your company bankrupt. Can company ask from you money? Please pay back our MBA money. But this is sunk cost, Sometimes maybe if you're in a railway business, sometimes you can say you put into the track development, while you leave in the industry, government never allow you to get back your tracks, tracks you invest, sunk. It is a sink, almost you put it down, you can't take it back. This type of cost you find in any industry, sunk cost.
So let's take an practical example. Let's say, so I have a company and there are machineries are there. And so in the case of the company lost, so we can just sell that equipment and get some money.
Machineries you can sell it, But
Yeah,
some of the costs like they are intangible actually. They are not tangible. You can't touch it.
Yeah.
You can't touch it. Invisible costs are there, which is sunk, but you can't take it. But machinery type of things you can. It's a fixed cost.
Yeah. So in talking about this equipment, so when we buying that's a new price, and when we selling not the same price, right? So there's a difference, right? So for an example, let's say I bought for 1 lakh, and if I'm selling it for 80,000, so there's a difference of 20,000. So does that 20,000 make it a sunk cost?
No, you do the depreciation. Depreciation for machines maybe for a 5-year period. Each year you are getting depreciations. Your accounting recordings. Then that money is there.
Okay.
Yeah, that you can depreciation. Sometimes you can consider as a sunk.
Yeah.
More or less, we are saying that it's an intangible cost, but you incurred. You can't recover it. While you are leaving it, sometimes maybe in order to create a good the culture within your company, you spend so much money. Well, likewise, maybe educating employees' kids, helping their wives and training them, giving so many things, but you can't recover these things, It's a sunk. You just put, but you never want to get it back. That was the idea. But you don't have any commercial motive there. Sometimes, you want to create maybe the loyal group to your company, but once you bankrupt, you can't recover these costs, Some companies are heavily doing that one, like a social responsibility cost, Sometimes your company is located some area, you are helping to school in that area, hospital that area. But you are in a bankrupt or while you are closing down, you can't get back these costs. There's a sunk cost. Sometimes company itself or maybe outside the company, as a social responsibility companies are doing it, environmental protection, educating kids, helping poor, and giving free foods and type of things, There's a sunk cost. It should not be a fixed cost, it can be fixed cost. Some of the machines, sometimes you can't remove it, according to law, that's not allowed sometimes. Yeah, that was ideal, especially the training cost, human resource training, you bankrupt, then sometime Morotai University bankrupt, they will say, oh, lecturers, look, we spend money on your PhD, you have to pay back it. But there's some cost, you can't do nothing that way.
Okay, sir.
Right. Any more questions? Then you can see these are the questions we are asking under this railway sector, Do managers often find it difficult to minimize cost? If so, why? This is the main problem for all the managers, you like to have more resources, Always the higher management come and say, look, we have to reduce the cost, likewise now as a deans, we are facing this problem, government come in and say no recruitment, no money, nothing, we are in real trouble, but more students are coming, especially when it comes to undergraduates, government sending each year 10-20 more. But same time, government say no new recruitment, no money, then we are as a deans, we are in real trouble, How can we run the system, And that way, as you people also, as managers, you also have this problem, due to the current economic situation. You always get a 2-3 letters per week, to minimize the cost, to reduce the cost. But as a managers, we know it's very hard, very difficult, to do that one, the cost minimization, Then can control charts of the sort described in this case help managers to minimize the cost? If so, by control charts, everything is visualized, you can see where the cost is going up, which section, which times, and, things like, then it may be help, you read and you discuss it. Equations 1, a short run or long run cost functions. And why? By seeing that one, you can see that, the long run, short run, how do you define that one, Short run means at least one factor is in fixed supply, long run, all the factors are variable. If I look at that one, you can say that, what is the marginal cost of switch in a cut, especially in the railway business, the marginal cost concepts we are using practically, in a hotel business, we are heavily using marginal cost, and what is the marginal cost of delivering a car in a railway business, and does the average cost per cut switch exceed the marginal cost of switch in a cut? Then you can see practically, I said, these costs have some relations to each other. Practically, you find this one while you're doing a business. In what ways can this estimate of marginal and average costs be useful in railroad managers? Then you can see average, marginal, total, all these things are very useful, It depends on the which area you're in. If you're a CEO, it's badly necessary, CEO has to have, right, but maybe sectional heads, sometimes you are head in the manufacturing division, maybe marketing division, maybe HR division, you may don't have that much cost things, but the HR always get, warning from, don't recruit people and, don't give a very high salary scales and, cost reduction, The good example is now the in Sri Lankan economic situation, public sector, government sector, not for profit sector, everybody is facing this cost problem, How can we reduce the cost? Cost is, most of the management books, they deal with half of the books deal with the cost reduction, Maybe our modules wise, you take our module wise, most of the module teach you to how to minimize the cost. Maybe as a manager, your senior manager always advise you to, your division cost is going up, Then as a group, maybe you can read this case, we don't want to spend time here and submit the answers. In last case also, I think you submitted last case also, just to give idea, market mechanism, how can we use the demand supply equilibriums and the elasticity and the demand estimation and the demand forecasting. And today we are analyzing the production and the cost and the revenue, profit maximization, that aspects, then these are also simple framework, but practically you can apply to anywhere, Likewise, your case studies there, railways applying it. Likewise, the garment factory case, garment factory owner come and says, look, earlier I was making a profit, but now I'm not making any profit. Can you help me? Then how can you analyze the production part? You analyze the costing part, you analyze the revenue part. Then you can easily find where the problems, Sometimes maybe Sri Lanka government has a problem, Now the Sri Lanka government has a serious problem with the dollars, What they have to say, they have to say IMF. IMF is established for that, Then without IMF's, seal, then no country want to help us, Then you can go and cheat the China or maybe Pakistan, asking like a bigger things. That's not the right way, You go to the IMF. IMF is established for that one. We negotiate the our loan and, then they will prescribe us the policies, Because they are not our enemies, They are professionally, they are saying we have a problem that this area, then we have to get correct basics, If you get correct basics, we can again come back to the right track, The dollar is coming up and the economy is going up. Otherwise, yesterday night I was in the airport to send some of my relatives abroad. I saw arrival, no one, but departure, like the hell, Everybody want to leave the country, Everybody's in. I don't know where it end up, Not that much bigger jobs, very, very small jobs. Whoever can, they are leaving the country, That may be good sign. These people maybe sends at least $2-3, That way, if you ask from the IMF send a team of economists, They come and they analyze, our production, each and every, our costing side, our revenue side. Then again, we are back in a business, Our dollar problem is over. They will say good governance matters, Don't drop public funds and, don't give unnecessary money, Don't give unnecessary subsidies and things like, Things should regulate rightly, Qualified people should be given right place and, These are the problems, wrong people in the wrong places or right places, then these things can happen, That way we can apply these our concepts which we are learning, These are things what if you have a country problem, you go to World Bank, What the World Bank is doing. World Bank sent in team of economists. They come and they check each and every aspect, production side, costing side, revenue side. Then they find where are the problems. Then they say, look, these are the money. If you want to take the money, these are the conditions. Without condition, not free money is coming, If you get a Chinese or Pakistan, Indian money, no conditions, They get country inside resources and they give money, Huge part of that can go as a commissions. But IMF, World Bank, they don't give commissions, That way, we have to work professionally, Then this may be the right, Some of you want to maybe start your life as an economist one day, At least if you want to start your life one day, this is the right one, as economists, the economists teach the basics of business, If you can specialize the economists, you can do your own business better, because costing behavior, revenue behavior, and profit maximum. All these concepts we teach. Therefore, practically as a manager, you have good economics knowledge, you can make a good money, out of it. Right? Anybody has a questions regarding the production, cost, profit maximization, and the company close or starting and continue business, how far we can apply this one into the practical situations, service sector, manufacturing sector, maybe agriculture sector, maybe industry, or maybe service, that way. Right, because today we don't have that much. I don't want to give more information to you, then as a group, you can get together and discuss. I think you can have a group discussion, even after I complete the lecture. You can still be in a Zoom and you can still do your case study, if you want. That is possible. Otherwise, you can create your own Zooms, 40 minutes, you can do it free. 30, 40 minutes, you can do it free, and you can have a group discussion and you can finish off before you join your family, and finish off. Normally in other in-person classes, we complete everything in class. We never give any homework to do at home, Class, everything we finish, you're going home with a clear mind. That was idea, but unfortunately, situation, no one knows which direction it will end up, Now the increase in and university also, there are few section close and, it's an on and off situation. Right, anybody has a questions to add anything? Because you are, I think we have, how many managers? 53 managers, yeah? Yeah, I would say one day you managers and businessmen and different level. Do you think this analysis may be useful for your work? First time,
definitely.
Yeah, first time you may don't understand. It's a production analysis, how the total product, average product, marginal product behaving. Sometimes you can get data and see that, collect data and whether curves are behaving that way, short run, long run, and that way. And the costing part anyway, as a manager, the main problems, costing, if you own Saudi Arabia, you may don't have a costing problem, But in our part of the world, always cost is a problem, Cost is always come into equations, Human mind working with this part of the world with the cost, Before you buy something, maybe your partner buy in these days something, asks 10 places, And if this is cheaper, we buy more, That is our demand behavior, Suppliers maybe other way around. And there are profit maximization, MR equal MC conditions, We just, model how the companies are doing their day-to-day operations, They just decide where to produce based on the MR equal MC condition. They go to the AR curve and they fix the price, come down to the horizontal curve and fix the output. Then they can thereafter see the different type of cost, with respect to different cost curves. What is a variable cost, total fixed cost, average cost, and things like, Right? Anybody has any questions? Anything to add? This is what we call the production economics, where the production economics stop, where the operation management start. Thereafter you have a subject called the operation or production management. They are starting from the place where I stop in this lecture. They are taking it further, Most of the concepts which you learn here, you are learning again from there in a different perspectives, engineering, industrial engineering perspectives. We have that subject like is operation management. Sometime back I was speaking that one. in other part of the world. In Afghanistan, American University, I was a professor of operation management. Unfortunately, they closed the university. In that way, you can see most of these concepts we are learning in, again, the industrial engineering perspectives. Right? Rather than wasting your time, then we will wind up the today's session a little early, but you can work as a group, then you can finish off your time till 7:30. Then you can finish off the case study. If you can generate your own Zoom, 40 minutes anyway free, 40 minutes, finish the work and you can submit with answers, then you're free, don't want to wait till next week. Anybody has any other questions regarding the logistic part? I think you appoint a class representative for a MOT badge and the entrepreneurship badge. Talk with your coordinator and the admin, and you can decide that on, and we can inform, you can inform us, these are our class rep. Then we can have a very frequent discussion with them. And even some people ask the past papers, because now this time we changed the curriculum, but I will give maybe next week model question papers, because your coordinator asks from us the model question papers, but that is not available in library as due to the syllabus changes. Then read as much as, as I said, the day-to-day business news, especially the CNN World Business Report, BBC World Business Report, NDTV, and, the Al Jazeera, these things, and local journal also available, Sri Lanka Business Today, and, and Financial Times, then you can see where the world is moving, at least the Economist magazine, Harvard Business Review, Sloan Management Review, that is mainly techno flavor, you find Sloan Management Review, in some of these things our libraries subscribe in, and some even as a students you can get free, access to for week 2-3 articles, read these things and try to get knowledge by yourself, Right. Anybody has any questions? Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What about, we'll finish it and you can start your own case study. Oh,
Okay, sir.
I don't want to go into next lesson. Next lesson going to be a market structures, especially perfect competition and the monopoly, oligopoly, monopolistic competition, and the duopoly. Whatever we develop here, we can apply that one. We'll start with the market structure framework, structure conduct performance framework, and the 5 forces analysis. There we go for 4 market structures. Therefore, you have to know by heartly the things what we develop here, especially cost models, total cost, average cost, marginal cost. We apply that one to different market structures. Then you will see that practically that is the way markets are working. Your rice market, how work, vegetable markets, how the railway market work, telecom market works, your detergent supermarkets, how it works, what is their, the structure, conduct, performance, Next lesson link, with this lesson. Right. Then I would like to say good evening to everybody. And if you have any problems, any extra materials, if you want to read more, so please drop me an email. You have my email account, and I can within 24 hours I will give a more extra readings you to read. Then the book I gave is a very simple. Have more applications available. I gave some part of the textbooks for today lecture. For each and every lecture, I will give some part from the textbooks. Then you don't want to chase the textbooks also. You can stick to that one, lecture notes and the cases, then you get a real knowledge. And I hope the latter part of the lectures we can do in person. Then we can see each other. And, we can do more cases, Harvard type of cases, That's a very extensive, But 50 pages, 100 pages cases you find in Harvard is given, But you people, that is a full-time course, 2-year residential. But our one is a part-time, 2-year. You have a family, you have your office life, and your social life. Therefore we don't want to put so much burden on you. We want to see that everybody is learning with happily. Happiness matters in our faculty. Right. Then with that one, then I'll conclude today's session. Right. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.